Asylum seekers arriving in Australia come from countries such as Afghanistan, Darfur, Somalia, China, and Pakistan. The number arriving is small, and the Australian Asylum Seekers Resource Centre claims that Australia currently only takes 0.03% of all asylum seekers. These people are fleeing their homes due to war, famine, discrimination, and genocide. When they arrive in Australia, our government puts them in detention, sometimes splitting up families. There have been multiple cases of death in custody, and the uncertainty and daily torment of being locked up, powerless to improve their situation, causes mental anguish. Sometimes these people are released into society, but wait years to be able to lead independent lives as visas and work permits are processed. Some are children with no family members attending them. The media in Australia covers the plight of asylum seekers or refugees, often showing their destitution, images of boats and the Navy intercepting them, as well as of shipwrecks such as the one pictured above are shown. These images and discourses present asylum seekers as being in very different circumstances to the general public, presenting them as outsiders. The attitude is hostile, negative and toxic. This is how the situation was described on a news program. The program had ministers and other politicians discussing the asylum seekers issue. The flavour was that we want to keep them out. Don't let them land, and when they land, why are they staying? Kick them out. Australia doesn't want them. But they weren't wanted in their homeland either. The news program mentioned is fairly typical of the very public discussion on asylum seekers. Politicians and news reporters ask why the government in power won't keep them out. These people live in uncertainty, treated like prisoners, and it is publicly announced that they're not wanted. Why? Because they're different. These people were disadvantaged in their own country because they were from a different tribe, looked different, had different practices, or perhaps a different language. In their home, the dominant group saw everything about these people as foreign and having no value. This is labeling someone as other. Everything about you is different from me, so you are other. This is how asylum seekers have been labelled in Australia. This is what makes their treatment acceptable in society. This is a social construct that makes genocide possible. Dominance means a group with perceived sameness that holds the majority in what Giroux termed public pedagogy. An identity as a group forms. This is called a group or collective identity. The group identity is based on perception that we all think these things are important and we all behave in this way, not that way. A group can then gain power by placing its views and values in society in the form of billboards, advertisements, information posters, newspapers, television shows, or blatant propaganda. These items are part of public pedagogy. Public pedagogy is what we are taught by our living environment and the representations in it. These social statements will portray certain types of people or practices as the only accepted form, thus dominating what the public sees. This creates a larger, stronger centre for people with those characteristics to inhabit and affects what others in the area see as normal and accepted. This creates preferred treatment for those who are normal and disadvantage for those who do not occupy the centre. In Australian society, the dominant group is of white racial identity. Most of the people seeking asylum here do not identify as white. Australian identity contains certain accepted characteristics that make up acceptable identities for gender and class as well. Being from another society, asylum seekers often do not fit these identities. It means something different to be a woman in India than it does here. This creates fear and resistance. They threaten white Australian as the dominant group. They threaten the meaning and identity currently invested around Australia as home by bringing their othered appearances and practices into society when the social constructs of dominance dictate that there is nothing different that is okay. Australia's politicians' preoccupation with keeping them out exemplifies the attitude of fear and rejection toward asylum seekers. The attitude has a long history with the White Australia policy and treatment of Aboriginals. The treatment of these people who are different once they arrive also exemplifies our fear of the others. Our children see the superiority society assumes above asylum seekers and others who are different, so they learn it is okay to continue it. Education can play a vital role in changing the way Australians see those who are different. With 440,000 refugees moving to other countries last year, as well as the increasing ease of transnational travel, a global employment market, it is time all children were educated to accept and embrace difference. In constructing a unit for early childhood to early primary, the key is to foster an attitude of curiosity, not fear towards difference. Start with something familiar. Here is an example of a story you could use. Once upon a time, there was a town in Africa. Here is Africa. There was a family in this town, and they lived in a house. There were 3 brothers, a sister, a mum, and a dad. The children liked to play soccer with their friends, ride bikes, and play make-believe. They liked to help their parents cook. They slept in their family home. They went to school, sang together, brushed their teeth, and ate as a family. One day, people from another town came to the family's home. They took away the town animals and ruined their veggie gardens. They took the food from the shops too and hurt some of the people. The family worked with their friends to fix the damage, but the people from the other town came again a week later and ruined everything again. The school was burnt down so they couldn't go any more, and their toys were broken too. The mother decided they had to leave. It wasn't safe. They had to run because the attackers were coming again. Where could they go? They visited other towns, and they had been ruined too. In one town, the people living there said they couldn't live here. There was no room. The father found a friend who told the family about a place where no one would hurt them or ruin their things. So they used all the money they had to buy tickets on a boat to this place, Australia. The trip was very long, more than a week. When they arrived, they knew this would be a better life. Once you've told your story, here are some questions you could use to spark discussion and lead into a unit on difference. Focus on noticing sameness and difference and building curiosity about difference. Here are some ideas for the classroom. When building a unit on difference or building it into ongoing curriculum, your goal would be to present images and other items that include identities other than the dominant one in a positive light. Create some public pedagogy for your classroom or school that shows all the members of our society. Just a unit on difference won't change our reaction to different people, but an ongoing attitude will. This will make students more accepting of difference within their classmates and will extend beyond. As the society that calls itself Australia is recomposed, working with and accepting difference is essential for a success as a member of it. If your classroom practice genuinely says that difference is okay, then the children in your care will learn not to fear it. You will not be reinforcing and continuing the dominant view of white middle-class Australia being the only acceptable way to be. This will empower all your students, not just the ones who are already privileged. Most violence and hate comes from fear of what is different or having been done wrong to yourself. If children learn to value all the members of their classroom and themselves, then that is an experience that works against hate and war.